It's great. I love Philadelphia. Believe it or not, I love Philadelphia. I'm from Dallas. Cowboys, Eagles. I love Philadelphia. It's an amazing town. When I met my wife, we met at a small college in Des Moines, Iowa. And when we met, her parents were living way out in the country in a little town called Malvern. Is it still there? Okay. And so every holiday and every summer through the 70s, because we got married, we would come to Philadelphia area, Pennsylvania. Beautiful. Love the people, love the area. And it's amazing the history. You know, Pennsylvania is credited with having the first computer. Did you know that? 1946, University of Pennsylvania. This used to be the capital of the United States. A lot of people don't know that. From 1790 to 1797, George Washington, as president, ran the country from the capital in Philadelphia. It was later moved to Washington, D.C. It's amazing. You also have the highest concentration of haunted houses. You got Statue of Rocky, right? And so it's an amazing place, and I'm thrilled to be here with you. So let's get off that slide. Anyway, so in traveling in, you always meet interesting people on planes. And I met somebody who I determined early on it was best we just not have a conversation, right? You know, because sometimes there are people who brighten rooms, and there's some people, they brighten the room by leaving the room, right? And so that was one of those situations. So I had some quiet time on the flight. And what I'm here today is to just have a conversation about how to think about money. We're not going to do a financial seminar. I'm not selling product. It's just, I want to take you through a process of how to think about money and give yourself permission to receive more money. You are in the right place. You won the lottery, according to Warren Buffett, by being in America. You don't have to have been born here, as the slide says, but just by being here, you're in the right place. This is a country of capitalism. And regardless of all the fun, crazy, the views on our country and political, social, this is the right place. Where else would you rather be? You can make it, lose it, and make it again. I've traveled to other places. I've had some really cool trips around the world. When I get back here, I just want to literally get down and kiss the ground. We are in the right place. And we're winning around capitalism is beating communism around the world. There's only 4 communist countries left. You got China, North Korea, Cuba, and Massachusetts. That's it. Just 4. Just 4. And we're gaining on Massachusetts, so we're going to get there. So you have the environment to be what you want to be and do what you want to do. And so we're going to try and throw away some excuses that keep you from being that person and being financially free. I love it. Rock Thomas, thank you. What a great opening. Thank you for charging me. Awesome. And thanks to the Greater Pennsylvania region, Mike and Michelle and the team. They've just been amazing to work with to get here. So now most of us can spend a lot of time planning a vacation. At the end of the day, we're going to have a drawing. I'm going to take 3 cards. Work with me here. I've got a friend who I did a favor for who's very wealthy. And he's going to give me his plane. It's a mid-range. It's got the mileage capacity to do this. He's going to give me his plane, which will hold 9 people. And I'm going to take 8 of us, 3 of you, 3 plus a friend, spouse, whoever you want to take, me and my wife. And in early October, he gave us his house to use in Wailea, Maui. So 3 couples, let's say, 8 of us are going to go. So hopefully you're one of the lucky ones. Just work with me here. Now, if you're one of those people that win that drawing or selected in that drawing, by the time early October gets here, do you think you will have planned your week in Maui? Yeah. You'd have an itinerary. You'd have detail. You'd know what sites. You would call friends who've been there. You'll have done research. You'll have, and some people say, just give me a beach and a blanket. But most of you will want to do stuff. You'll have a detailed plan for that vacation, that trip. But most of us, most of America, not so much this room, spend more time planning a vacation than we do spend planning our lives. Part of your 20% in the 80-20 should be planning. Every day you should look at your plan. Not your daily plan, but how it ties into your long-range plan. What's your plan for money? What are your true financial goals? Because a lot of us just get out there and we go. I started in this business. Most people, how many of you did something else before real estate? Vast majority. Vast majority. And yet I kind of accidentally fell into this business. Right out of school, newlywed, 21 years old, didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. It was like literally on my honeymoon. I walked in a real estate office to ask some questions. What's this about? And in 20 minutes, I said, I'll give it a try. And it stuck. It stuck. I'm still here. And so I tried everything. I didn't have plans. I had, goals, annual goals. They talked about that. But I really didn't have a true plan for myself until several years later, and I started the planning process. When I had a plan, which is a vision, which internalizes, which creates action, I started moving toward those goals. And so you've got to internalize and have those plans. Now, I sit on the board of a major university, of their business school, Baylor University, their business school. And a couple years ago, the whole university was going through a new strategic plan. And as we were working through the process with a couple, PhD professors on strategic planning, many of you have been through strategic planning, it can be quite tedious because you're wordsmithing everything, the or the, will or shall, that kind of stuff. And they came up with this paragraph that was going to be the mission statement for the business school of Baylor. And then they would send it up to the university, they would come up with their mission statement and so forth. We spent half a day on that. And it was ridiculous. It was beautifully written, academically correct. And yet I turned to, there's 19 of us on the board, I turned to the lady on my right, her name is Stephanie. And she is the Chief Technology Officer for Disney. All Disney. Top tech person. She reports directly to the CEO. She's got the theme parks, the hotels, the cruise lines, Pixar, movies. All technology flows through her. Pretty impressive lady. And so I leaned over and I said, I was bored. I said, Stephanie, what's your mission statement? She said, well, Mike, it's for my tech group. I said, yeah, just for your hundreds of thousands of people. Yeah. And she said, it's get to the fun fast. I said, come on, Disney, a massive corporation. Get to the fun fast, that's it. She said, well, think about it. Our job in technology, Disney's about fun. Happiest place on earth. They come to one of our theme parks and they have to wait in line at one of our hotels for 20 minutes to get to the fun. We're not doing our job. So our job is, every person in technology at Disney, they think when they show up every day is, what am I going to do today to help people, our customers, get to the fun fast? I went like, that's a great mission statement. And then I found out later that the Disney Corp, the parent corp, their top vision statement is, keep the mouse happy. Right? Mickey's their icon. Doesn't that make sense? That's one that you can remember. So what is yours? So I try to keep it simple. Here's kind of, I said, this is 30 years old. Before I knew what mission and vision statements were, I just said, what am I going to do? Well, I need to fund my life. And by being in real estate, it's by serving and helping people. By golly, if I can't have fun doing it, why am I doing it? That's what I need to find to be able to do. And then within real estate, how do you do it? Like all of you, I probably started with 8 or 10 different lead generation models. And I got it all down, or methods of sources of business. And I got it down to 1 or 2 finally. And it was the 2 I liked the most because I got the best results. Or did I get the best results because I love doing that? They go back and forth with each other. And so you've got to say, what's my objective? And so for today's purposes, how do you fund your life? And how big is that fund? I'm not talking about survival. I'm talking about significance. First, you got to survive, but this whole day is about significance. It's about significance. And gold is reserved for those who obey its commands. Money has rules. This is a statement from the book Richest Man in Babylon by Clausen. I'm going to mention several books today. This is a must-read. The book's about 80 years old. And it's as valid today and as accurate today as it was 80 years ago. Richest Man in Babylon. It's written in parable form. It's an easy read, but it's got rules. Money has rules. Everybody talks, in the late 90s, at my golf club in the locker room area, there used to be guys walking around during the dot-com boom. Everybody's going around, I'm a day trader. I'm killing the market. Well, in the late 90s, if you weren't killing the market, there was something seriously wrong. You could not lose. Now, things changed, right? I haven't heard somebody say, I'm a day trader since 2002. Right? Things change because money has rules, and they thought they were beating the rules, and they were just riding an amazing wave. And so once you know what the rules are, and you're willing to play by the rules, money will reward you. Money will pay you. You don't work for money, money works for you if you follow the rules. And that should be the objective, and we'll get into that a little bit more. Now, the people who are super successful, the elite, don't they think differently? I can remember the early days. I've been with Keller Williams since '94. We had 1,100 agents when I joined. I've seen some change. We used to be able to really get close and conversational with Gary. He was the teacher. He taught franchise orientation. He did everything. And my business partner, Dick Dillingham, and I would come out of the room in some of those early days, let's say even into the late 90s, we'd look at each other and go like, where did he come up with that? How did he think of that? And he just is a genius. He thinks different than the rest of us. And I think I'm a pretty creative, progressive thinker, but Gary comes up with stuff that's just out there. And it's different. And so the elite think differently. I really like these guys, Go Abundance, this cadre that they've put together in this group, I'm still not sure what they're doing. But it's wild and it's exciting. And they're pumped up. And they're enthusiastic. And I'm going to watch them. I want to observe them. I'm not sure I want to join them. I'm not sure I qualified. But man, they are charged up. I come in, I get in the lobby last night. And they just did some 5-hour deal on Saturday. And they start going around and they're just talking. And they're just like, I mean, go look up testosterone in the dictionary and their pictures are there. These guys are, they're going like, yeah, I did 4 marathons last month, 1 a week. I climbed 3 mountains. Yeah, I did a couple of mutter runs, marine mutters. And they're going, oh, they're just like, oh. And it's going around. They're getting more excited. They get around to me. And I go, yeah, I did the ice bucket challenge. Yeah. Come on. It's contagious, right? They're thinking differently. They want to grab life big. You know what? They will. They will. They will. There's no doubt in my mind about it. Now, this is first time I shared this, it's still not easy to share. I'm about to share something personal with you. And the first time I shared it, it was really hard because I'd started to share it a couple times before I did the first time, and I couldn't do it because it's pretty personal. But the reaction I got from people after sharing it saying, thank you, I'm there, or I've been there, or I know somebody, that helped. I said, I need to tell the story. So in my early 30s, I get invited to be on a bank board, a new bank that's organizing in Plano, Texas. And so I said, this is awesome. What a compliment. And they asked me not because of my financial status, but because of my influence. I've been very visible in the community, real estate, president of United Way, president of the Chamber of Commerce in Plano. I knew a lot of people, and a lot of people knew me. And they wanted influence more than money. There were 11 primary owners of this bank. Opened the bank, successful bank, very successful. I go to the board meetings, they give me $200 in cash, 2 $100 bills, which was like massive for me back then. That was like, wow, I got a lot of money, right? That was the director fees. And we built the bank, very successful, later sold it for a profit. But the bank was so successful, we said, let's build a building, let's build a bank building, separate LLC. We'll put the bank, the business, in the building to pay for our real estate play. Very normal. That's a good plan, by the way. So we did that. So when we sold the bank, we sold the building with it. But during that time, while we still owned it, we were doing so well, let's do more of these. And so we became a multi-bank holding company. I went and found the land. The chairman wanted a particular piece of land, which was the most expensive per square foot dirt in the Dallas-Fort Worth area at the time. He really wanted this location. So we bought the prime of prime. And the market was hot, and we paid for it. Now, because of the collective strength of the 11, we got 100% financing. Plus, we rolled in some costs. So it's 100% plus financing. No problem because of our strength, right? The good news is we didn't open the bank. The bad news is we still had the land when the market really fell off the table. Market crashed. And land was here, we're financed here, now the land's worth this. Have you heard those kind of stories? This is like the recent short sales and foreclosures on steroids times a bunch, X. So what do? We got this massive short sale. And so slowly, one by one, of the 11, these wealthy friends, 4 of them took personal bankruptcy. 2 of them, frankly, died. 1 guy disappeared. So now there's 4 of us left, not holding our share of this, but there's an academic phrase you might have heard of in licensing called joint and several liability. That means few of you, or you're responsible for all of it. And there's another phrase in there called personal liability. When you get in a situation like that, they take that really seriously. And so I didn't know, it put me underwater. So I could either file bankruptcy, which, by the way, there's no doubt people in this room have done that, and those laws are there for a reason. It's a chance to restart. That's okay, but I chose not to do that. I was down to everything except my home, because I had gotten to the point where my home was paid off, and it was homesteaded, so they couldn't take that. I had some rental properties, but they're all underwater too. There's negative equity there. So I'm negative net worth, no question. And it affected me. I was embarrassed. My pride was gone. My self-esteem was gone. And even though I've tried to carry on, and I didn't want my family to know, Karen, my wife, kind of knew. Didn't want the kids to know. I didn't want it to affect my home, but I was ready to quit real estate. And I felt, because this is an event, it wasn't me, but I felt it was me at the time, because I'd always succeeded at everything. But I got in one bad deal that affected everything. It affected my head. It was mindset, right? And so as I'm going through that, and I'm at my low of low, and a very, very close, a lot of you know him, friend, came to me and goes, Brodie, just shut up. Shut up, get out of your pity party, and go do it again. I said, no, I don't know. I'm thinking about mortgage or title. Just if I make a shift. He said, would you quit it? Shut up, look up, get up, and go kick butt. You're the best. You're the guy who would always brighten rooms when you entered. Right now, you would brighten a room if you left. That's not you. Quit sabotaging yourself. Go get it. And that was the encouragement I needed. And so I did. And so deal by deal, I started fighting back, continued to be noticed. Now everything's normal. Now there are some changes in there, yeah. Our typical spring break vacations were, we'll go to Colorado, we'll get the house on the slopes with another family, ski in, ski out, big time. Spring breaks. That spring break year, the 4 of us got in the Suburban. We drove to San Antonio. All 4 of us stayed in one room at a Hampton Inn. Hampton Inns have free breakfast, That was important. And spent a day and a half at SeaWorld, and then drove back. Now, lesson learned there. One of the best trips we ever had as a family. So it's not about where it is and how much it costs. It was about the experience. Another lesson learned. Now I started saying, well, maybe I fell into materialism, not the truth of wealth. The truth of wealth is the joy and the freedom, as Rock said, that it can give you. Freedom's the answer. And today I look back on that experience, and I go, and I thank God. By the way, I was not thankful at the time I was going through it. I didn't understand the lesson. But now I realize there was a reason I went through that. Because it makes me better today than I would have ever been if that hadn't happened and just kind of stayed on this path. Because I went on this path and then took off on this path. There's a new understanding. So wherever you are, and that's a message of hope. We can all be massively better than we are. I'm nowhere near capacity. I had lunch with one of our top agents on Friday, and amazing lady, and she's confused. She's stuck. She wants to be at 7th. She won't get out of her own way. She's still working. She does 130 units a year, about 35 million, mid-sized team, and she's just miserable because she has no life. And so I said, she's finally open to, she wouldn't take coaching before. She's fine. I said, Kim, you've come to a point of discovery. I'm so happy for you today. Because she's willing now to make herself vulnerable and to realize there are other ways to be better. She can listen to others. And so it's not about what money can buy. It's about money, what money can do for you. I like nice things, but I don't consider myself materialistic. We've lived in the same house for 40 years. Very happy in my 2,550 square foot house. It's been redone a couple times, and it's on a nice golf course lot, and it's awesome. You know, what the joy comes from, you can have what you want, but if you choose to give, and give generously, and don't even have to think about it, that's joy. To give anonymously, that's real joy, right? And to see the difference it makes in lives. And so that, so wherever your goal is, I like the nice stuff. Don't get me wrong. Believe me, I do. So where I was I was broke. And broke is temporary. I was not poor. Never find yourself in a position of poor. One is a state of account, which can be fixed. The other is a state of mind. Poor is hard to fix. Probably can't be fixed. That's the people who we're all sad to see on street corners and under bridges, right? And they need help too. They need hope. But in most cases, it's going to take a change of mindset because they're going to have to help themselves. It can't just come from the outside. It's got to start internally. Now, so it's when I lost my excuses that I found my results. Think of that. When I stopped saying, well, it was me. When I was there, I was going like, well, I just made a terrible choice. How could I do that? I was stupid. I should have known better. I was running in the wrong league. I let flattery and ego get to me, not good common sense. All that, as we say in bold, that drunk monkey talk, I had it on both shoulders. I was getting both ears. Until I knocked them off, right, and lost my excuses, I began to find my results. Does that make sense? So lose your excuses. There's no excuse. Go abundance. Go abundance. I think that's abundance is in there. Abundance is awesome. And there's not a person here that doesn't deserve it. I see a lot of faces. Every face is connected to a heart. Every face is connected to a heart. And I think about that when I meet people. And inside that heart, there's passion. And that passion just needs to be grabbed and pulled out. It needs to be set free so they can go be what they want to be. Now, some people are actually comfortable with money, and some people are uncomfortable with money. How can that be? Right? Most people, what? I'm not uncomfortable. Give me all I can get. No, it's you go get all you can get, because there's a difference between the two. And where does that come from? It comes from environments. It comes from where we grew up. It comes from environments and experiences. Let's have a little exercise here. Everybody's going to work with me, okay? We're going to play, all right? Turn to your neighbor and say, let's play. Okay, all right, here we go. I want you to think of two numbers. Two numbers. Think of where you live and what's the value of that abode. And if you're renting, it has a value. If it's an apartment, say, what's so much a month? No. If it were a condo, what would it be worth? You have some idea. What's the value of where you reside? Got that number? All right, and I'll give you your choice on the next one. Either take last year's income or what you can project this year's income is going to be. So how much is the value of your residence, and how much money did you make last year or this year? Two numbers. Got them? Ready? Add a zero. So let's say I live in a $400,000 home, and I make $200,000 a year, as an example. All right, if I add a zero, now it's $2 million a year income in a $4 million home. You with me? Is that what you did in your head, I hope? All right. How does that make you feel? Good? You like that? Everybody good with that? Anybody uncomfortable with any of that? Some of you are. Let me help you. You're going, hey, I'm good on my example. Mike, I'm good on the $2 million, but I don't want to live in a $4 million home. I don't need a $4 million home. That's too much. That's excess. I could use that money in some other way. My mom wouldn't think that's right. Some of you think, don't raise your hand. Don't nod, but I think some of us might. I thought that first time I heard that. All right, so take the zero. Go back to your original number, 200, 400. All right, breathe. Back to the original numbers. Take away a zero. I heard more groans than I heard wows on the first add of 0. So what does that mean? Which are you? Most of us are more uncomfortable without money. The fear of not having it overrides the freedom to go get it. I want you to go get it. I want you to have the option of adding zeros. You don't have to take the 0. You don't have to take the house. All right? There's other things you can do with it. Take the income and enjoy it, use it, have fun with it, be generous with it. It's up to you. But give yourself, and this comes from backgrounds and environments and experiences. All right, here we go. We're going to play again. I'm going to put up, this is audience participation. All right. Turn to your neighbor and say, we're really going to play now. All right, here we go. So I'm going to put up a statement. Let's see if we all have the same perception of the answer. So I'll put up a statement, I'll read it, and I'll go like this, and you answer, true or false, okay? You got it? I'll read it, and I want you to shout it out, true or false. And let's see if we have consensus on some of these statements. There's just a few. Ready? Women start more arguments than men. That was not consensus. All right, calm down. Get over it. It's just a little quiz. It's not my quiz. It's Dr. Joyce Brothers, okay? Did studies in which is more true than not. I'll give you the answers. It's her studies, all right? Not in all cases. But you gave your answer based on experiences and environments. It's what you know, where you've been, right? That was true. Let's go again. A couple guys going, yeah. Yeah, tell them, brother. All right. In a trying or difficult situation, women are more likely to fall to pieces. Well, you go, girl. You go. A few more. Women are more likely to lie about their age. Yeah. We all know that, right? Come on, guys. Experiences, environments. A couple more. Women change their minds more often than men. That's true. I bring that up from time to time. I say, that's not what you said the other day. Well, that's my prerogative. I'm a woman. I can change my mind. Okay. There you go arguing again. Never mind. I'm like... Last one. Everybody, this is it, so let me hear from you. Husbands tend to be more intelligent than their wives. Oh, I love it. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened there. This is a win-win company. There was no win in that one, so I'm just not going there. So where are you today? Be honest with yourself when you assess your financial situation, your goals, and where you want to go. You're going to hear some amazing information today. I'm so excited for the whole day. And but be truthful with yourself. Avoiding the truth will not change the truth. Don't pretend to be something you're not. Be what you are, and then go make yourself what you want to be, and create your plan. And it includes finances. I've got an OP in one of my regions who is an amazing talent, and they just have no clue as to financial disciplines. They make a lot of money, and they spend it on things, toys, exotic cars, trips. And now, if they profit share minimally, how do you think their agents feel about the model that their owners are setting? I love nice things. Don't get me wrong. Love them. I'm not judging that at all. But be truthful with where you are and where you're headed. Now, this is a I love this. This is a day. I'm not going to take a day. All right? Well, how many of you are familiar with the cash flow quadrant, or you've seen it before? Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrant book, the sequel to Rich Dad, Poor Dad, another great money book. Richest Man in Babylon, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Financial Peace, P-E-A-C-E, by Ramsey, Dave Ramsey. Great, great reads. But most of us, 86% of America, starts out in the employee quadrant. You already raised your hand. I did something before, and it was probably an employee. That's the way we train our kids. Go to school, get good grades, get a job. The American way. Go to school, get good grades, get a job. That's the way we teach. And so most start in the E quadrant, and they decide where they go from there. Now, rooms of realtors, we go, well, we're just a little bit maverick. We're a little bit more independent. And I ask people, why real estate? Why not insurance or stock and bonds? They go, the ability to control my time. How's that working for you? Right? Unlimited financial opportunity. I don't argue with that if you follow the right disciplines. But by the way, I would get control of your time to do that. And so most live on the left side, the left two quadrants, the E and S. And by the way, let me just say, I'll give this to Michelle and she'll post it on the regional website. Is that okay? The whole PowerPoint. So I see a lot of you furiously copying or taking pictures. That's fine. But I reside in all four, by the way. I reside in all four. I'm an employee in a small way in one situation. I still do a lot of self-employed stuff. I primarily live in the business quadrant, and I do everything. All those three, the E, S, and B, should all feed the I quadrant. Wherever you are, that's okay. Feed the I. Feed the investor quadrant. But just say, where do I primarily reside? Multiple quadrants for most. And what quadrant do I want to be in? And how do I get there? This is just, Kiyosaki didn't give us anything new. He just brought it down into visuals and lay language that made him a multi-millionaire. And it just makes a lot of sense. So it's a great visual. It's all there. Leverage through people and money. I love the quote at the top by J. Paul Getty. If you can't read it in the back, it says, I would rather earn 1% off 100 people's efforts than 100% of my own. Yeah. It surprised people. I talked a couple years ago at an event in Maryland. Seth had put together an amazing day, a mastermind, several hundred people. And it surprised people, and I told them, I don't own 50% of anything. 5 regions, 5 market centers. Not 50% or more in any of them. They're all 30, 20, 33, 10, 20. I'm thinking of something, 12 and a half. But there's enough of them that adds up to a lot more than I could do any one of them by myself. Does that make sense? All right? And plus, by having other people, by leveraging and having a piece of it where someone else is running it, and it's not me. If I had it all, I'd be doing it myself. I free my time to go do more. Whole different conversation. But think about that. Now, most of us radically overestimate what we can do in a year. I'll use profit share as an example. By the way, profit share should be a business. I tell people, because I've been successful in profit sharing, that if you just time block, I'm going to make it pretty massive on you. 10 minutes a week. Call 3 people a week. Say Thursday from 2 to 2:10. I'm going to call 3 people and say, I just think you're an amazing person. I think we're so like-minded. I've enjoyed work. I wish we could figure out a way to be in business together. Do you mind if I have Tammy, my team leader, give you a call? Or I'm going to have Tammy give you a call. Please receive her call. Just take 30 minutes to see if because I care about you, this could potentially change your life. Is that worth 30 minutes? It's not a heavy-handed script, right? 3 of those once a week. My first year in profit share, overestimate. My first year in profit share, my profit share was 0. I've been blessed with the opportunity to start an office for the Osborne family at Dallas Preston Road. And the key to profit share is to share the profit, you first have to have what? Profit. We didn't have it that first year. Second year, my profit share was 400, then 900, then 1,800, then 4,000, then 6,500, then 9,000. So I'm 6 or 7 years in. Well, now it's well into 6 figures every year for the last 12 years. But the first few years, most realtors wouldn't have, they say, well, it doesn't work. 400 a year. Right. I need that. Yeah, you do. Because the 400 gets you to the 900, which gets you to the bigger number. But we don't have the patience as realtors. Long-range planning for realtors is typically lunch. Right? Or maybe 30, 45 days out when my escrows, my closes, and what's the schedule there. And yet we radically underestimate what we can do in 10 years. That's from Brian Buffini. We overestimate what we can do in a year because we're so fired up and you know, I'm going to charge the hill, I'm going to take the hill. And we come up a little short. But keep charging because in 10 years you're going to look back and go, wow, how did I get to here? It's kind of like the compound interest of money. It's amazing. So with all this, I'm not going to tell you that it's going to be easy. Anything that you hear today or anything I've shared, and I've got a few more points, but I'm going to tell you that it's going to be worth it. Take action. Take action. And so the greatest risk you have is doing nothing. Let's take, so there's usually somebody will come up and say, well, Mike, on profit share, you're lucky because you were in early. 1,100, now we're 100,000. Well, it took us 10 years to get to 20,000. Now we recruit 30,000 people a year. A year. We lose 20, we recruit 30, we grow by net 10. Does that make sense? And by the way, we retain better than NAR. There's about a 30% churn at the bottom. Our churn's about 20 or 25% because we're better, right? And so the great to say, well, it's too late. All the profit sharing's been taken. Are you kidding me? 30,000 people a year new coming? It's much more massive going forward than it's been in the past. You know what? Every one of those 30,000, they have to put down a name. So why wouldn't it be you? How many of those people are going to write down your name? 10 minutes a week, it's easy to do. And plus, and then other people say, well, you got involved with regions. I did. I don't think there's going to be any more regions available. I'm not sure what KWRI is doing. I don't know. But they've bought back some of the regions. They've renewed some of them. I don't know if they're holding them to allow them for the next generation or they're just holding them for themselves. But what about international? They've got plans for 70 countries. Not 30 regions, 70 countries. Only 10 are gone. Said, well, I'm not international, really. I'm going to suggest you're 2 degrees from knowing somebody somewhere in real estate who can give you a lead for an international lead. Just ask. Go in, if you're Danish, ask somebody that you know in Denmark. Or if you're Russian, ask somebody, who do you know in Russia that's in real estate? Contact that person. Who do you know who's amazing in real estate? Who do you know that might want to be a part of the fastest growing company that's going global? To have the rights to develop Russia, Brazil, India, China. They're going to chop up China. Everybody's got somebody for China, including me. You know somebody. So I'm at a CRS, Certified Residential Specialist event in February out in San Diego. And they have a contingent from Spain there. And so I go to lunch, and there's a group of the Spanish there. And they're obvious because they all got bright red. They got red jackets and yellow letters on the back. Big, it says Spain. So it's pretty obvious where they're from, right? And they're running a group of about 20. And they got a little earphone because they got interpreters and this. Pretty cool. And they look like a fun group. So I go to lunch, and I'm sitting at a table, one of these high tables like they have here in the restaurant. So I'm sitting there, and the guy to my left, it's all from Spain. They got the red jackets. So I'm thinking I'll be smooth, use my language of sales. You never know. So I go, where are you from? He goes, really? I mean, what part of Spain? That was the wrong first question, right? And so he tells me. I said, what's your name? He goes, Francisco. I said, wait, Francisco, what's your last name? He goes, Francisco. I said, what's your first name? He goes, Francisco. So you're Francisco. He goes, yes. What's your name? I go, Mike. And we exchanged cards, right? And so we started, and I sent him a follow-up note, and I sent a follow-up email. Sent him 3 emails. He replied to one, said, thank you, nice meeting you. Well, it turns out he's the CEO of a network, the second largest network of real estate offices in Spain. Right? And they've been in conversation. And next at Mega Camp, they're coming to Mega Camp. He and 2 or 3 of his compadres, and they're going to FSO the weekend before Mega Camp, and they're going to Mega Camp. There are other candidates for Spain. I'd say it's less than 50-50 that it'll be it, but I would have a 100% chance of not getting Spain if I didn't say something. It was right there. It was teed up. It was a softball, right? Take it. That's teed up for you everywhere, whether it's local or international. If you're interested in international, when I first heard we were going international, I went and got my CIPS designation, Certified International Property Specialist. And I took my courses in Chicago, Southern California, and I forget the third, Atlanta or East Coast, DC maybe. I went around. And those are all people, they're like their own little group. They're all little groupies of international people. And they know people, so I'm collecting cards. So I'm pursuing, I don't have a country yet, but I like my chances because I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to get a country. I don't have to go there. I just got to sponsor the person. Right? You get that. You get that. So your biggest risk is to do nothing, whether it be sponsorship, international, or pay attention to your finances. Feed your head. A lot of people here I know have been in some of the offices at KWRI. You go into Mo Anderson's office and you look at her bookshelves, and there's books on hope, culture, inspiration, faith, several Bibles. That's Mo's bookshelf. Interesting. You go into Gary Keller's office, and it's books on entrepreneurship, great companies, how to build a company, good to great, all the structural organizational books. You go into Mark Willis's office, everything's on leadership. He was a student of leadership. He's a great leader, right? Great company owner in Gary. Great inspiration, cultural queen in Mo. They feed their head with what they want to be. So what do you want to be? If you want to know more about money, go get the books. Feed your head with financial information. And read them more than once. And take notes and highlight them and dog tag the pages and tear them up. I mean, don't tear them up, but use them. Use them. So immerse yourself in information, and you internalize it, and it becomes part of you. It becomes part of you. So feed your head. And then take action. I've seen so many people who have a perfect plan. My top agent who I had lunch with Friday, she goes, Mike, I'm 41, and I didn't get all the opportunities. She's doing great, by the way. She's a fun gal, great agent. And she said, so where were you when you were 41? I went, broke. I just told you my story. She doesn't know that story. Her jaw dropped, literally. She said, come on. I said, I was broke. At your age, I was broke. And she said, you've come back like this in just a few short years? I love you, Kim. Yeah. I was broke. I wasn't poor, right? You know the difference? We know the difference now, right? Okay. I was broke. I said, just take action. Because she came to me. She also had a plan. I said, how long have you had that plan? She said, 3 years. I said, what have you done with it? I keep studying it, trying to make it better. I said, go do something. Imperfect action beats a perfect plan every time. Go do something. You're going to screw up. You're going to have failures. Keep failing forward. We know that phrase, right? And make it happen. So, I'm going to close, and Seth, I think, is going to ask me a few questions, and we'll take questions from the audience but in our limited time this morning. But Lou Holtz is a great football coach. Was a great football coach. Now he's a commentator on TV. Everybody know who Lou Holtz is? Great speaker, by the way. Got a list, but very funny, very witty. A lot of great quotes. And he was famous for taking failing programs and putting them in a bowl game the very next year. Did it in South Carolina, he did it at Arkansas, he did it at Notre Dame. And in fact, at Notre Dame, they're playing for the national championship in 1988 or 89. I think they're playing Florida State. He was number 2, and Florida State was number 1. And so before the game, he's doing the press interviews, and somebody asked him, they said, Coach, tell us about your team. How do you feel about your team? And now, the quote I'm about to share with you, he gave about his football team. I think it's a great quote for real estate, and I think it's a great quote for life, financial or otherwise, right? He said, we aren't where we want to be, we aren't where we should be, and we aren't where we are going to be, but thank goodness we aren't where we used to be. I went, wow, that's the way I feel. Thank goodness I'm not where I used to be. And I'm excited about where I can be. And I hope you are too. Thanks for listening to me. God bless you all.